I don't know any other manufacturer that makes anything like this. Um, it's a dynamically controlled parametric equalizer, basically. And to me, for processing vocals, that's a lot more usable than a multi-band compressor, because rather than having high-pass and low-pass filters on each band and setting the frequency limits, you have bands like in a parametric equalizer where you can adjust the Q, the frequency, and the initial boost, initial cut. You can make it dynamically boost or cut. And what I usually use it for is on female vocals. Usually when a singer's singing softly, you need maybe even to add a little more 3 or 4K, but it'll tear your head off when she sings louder. So that's the perfect solution, because you can solo a band, find the center frequency, and select a ratio, maximum cut, and as the energy in that frequency band goes up, it'll compress it, and it'll keep it smooth, and it's useful in vocals where the harmonics of the fundamental pitch start getting louder than the fundamental, and the harmonics are changing level more than the fundamental, and that can keep it all in perspective and keep the vocal sounding really smooth. Also, you can boost the high band, 15K, 10, 12K up there, get a lot of air, but dynamically it'll de-ess. So I mean, you can actually do all your vocal EQ and de-essing right in that plugin. And I usually use it to process before a wideband compressor, so it smooths everything out to where I want it, and then I can usually use a compressor to just control the overall dynamics, and maybe an equalizer to control, to just adjust the frequency response. But that, I've got to say that I use on pretty much every session I do, and the only thing, there hasn't been anything like that since analog processing, which I think it was Brooks Siren made something that was a very rudimentary version that had 4 bands of compression that you could adjust, but you couldn't adjust the ratio or the Q. And this thing is very surgical. You can really sculpt the vocal sound with it. It's also really good where headphone leakage sort of starts screaming just before feedback. You can set it very narrow. You can set it to get rid of that if you have a problem with that. It's pretty much my go-to tool for vocals.
Well, that works. We got that right. Okay, good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now you got Mick Guzauski here, who's mixed so many records I couldn't count them all. He's got lots of awards. If you have a question for him about, I don't know, or how he does his thing, this is your chance, because he's here right now.
Oh yeah, I work mostly in, I work in Pro Tools 11. What I usually do is I get a session, I listen to the rough mix, and if someone gives me a session with their own plugins on it, I'll keep those at least for a while. Then I'll see if I can better that as I'm doing it. But I usually start where somebody's left off. Sometimes people just send me tracks that have been bounced from the beginning, so I'll just make a new session and import them in there. And what I have is in Pro Tools I usually have all the drums and percussion first, and bass, guitars, keyboards, sweetening, vocals, and yeah, I lay it out pretty much the same. Even if someone gives me a session that I'm not going to change their processing a lot, I still move the tracks around to where I'm used to having them. And then I have a template that has 16 stereo subgroups, and with buses feeding them. So I bus all the tracks to stems there. So sometimes I don't use all of them. Sometimes I don't use 8, 12, whatever. However, I can logically break down the session into stems. And then I also have submixes. And also in my template, those 16 aux channels, they sum to the mix bus and to a stereo track, but they're also individually assigned to 16 stereo tracks. So I can print stems, for the artist to use for live performance, or where they need to just take out some things, use some things. So it's much easier. Right, right. It like depending on the song. Like if it's R&B or hip hop, I'll have the kick and snare separate than the rest of the drums. Pop stuff, the drums could be all on one sub. It just depends what I would think and what the producer and artist think they would need control over for stems. Also, stems you can make any version of the mix, vocal up, vocal down, and also in my template I have 24 more stereo returns that I use just for effects returns. So I can assign those to any of the 16 subs, feed them from anything. So now each subgroup is getting its own effects. Yeah, so making stems rather than 16 passes is one pass to do the mix and the stems. It's a big time saver, and yeah. Using an Avid S6, which is a really nice desk. Yeah, because also in the session after every group, usually corresponding to the audio subgroups, but sometimes not exactly the same, I put a VCA master. So on my S6, which is 32 faders, I have all the VCA masters on the left side and all the audio masters on the right side. And with the group spill function, you can hit attention on any of the VCA masters, and all the tracks that are slaved to that one will come on the right side of the console. So I can have a session with hundreds of tracks and just have it on this 32 fader. Yeah, and then just press attention. You get all the drums put on the right. You know, tweak the balance a little, and then you still have the VCA master. So anyways, that's my workflow. Makes it nice and easy.